All right, everyone. Welcome to our first Canada AUA Acopian Center and Entrepreneurship Product Innovation Center at AUA seminar on sustainable energy. I am thrilled to be part of this initiative. It's been a long time in the making. We've been in discussions with the Canadian Embassy for some time to organize this event, at least a year, perhaps. It is a great opportunity for us to make connections with Canadian experts and expertise. Armenia is on the path of energy transition, all the contacts globally that we have, we should utilize maximally to understand what pathways we should take, but also look for opportunities for partnership across the world. And I hope that our Canadian colleagues and friends would also see opportunities to invest in Armenia. We're not the biggest market in the world, but there are some very interesting opportunities in this country and in this region in general. So with that, allow me to introduce to you, I'll talk a little bit more about the group that from the AUA side that offers this talk, and we're planning this to be a series. But before that, let me introduce to you Jennifer Rodrigue. She is the Counselor and Senior Trade Commissioner of Embassy of Canada in the Russian Federation. She's previously served on the board as Trade Commissioner at the Embassy of Canada in Colombia, China, Malaysia, Mexico. She also has held a number of positions at Global Affairs Canada, including Trade Policy and Negotiations Division of Asia, Technical Barriers and Regulations Division, and the Investment Trade Policy Division. So she comes with a lot of international investment and background, and we are thrilled to have her join us. So Jennifer, we would please go ahead.
Yes, and thank you for the kind introduction. So good day, bonjour. On behalf of the Embassy of Canada in Armenia, it's really a pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar on green energy. And as was mentioned, this is meant to be a first of a series of webinars organized in partnership with the American University of Armenia. And I would first like to thank the Acopian Center for the Environment at the American University of Armenia for co-hosting this webinar, and also to our panelists for what will be interesting and thought-provoking presentation. And also thank you to you for joining us on this Friday evening. I'm really happy to see that there is so much interest in a key topic that is important for our country's prosperity, energy security, but also for the well-being of our communities. Canada has long been a leader in clean energy innovation, and our advancements in hydrogen technology is a testament to our commitment to a sustainable future. In 2020, the Government of Canada set out its commitment to develop a clean energy economy when it released its hydrogen strategy. Canada is currently among the top 10 hydrogen producer in the world, and we're well positioned to be among the top 3 by 2050. And by 2050, we also intend to be able to supply up to 30% of our energy in the form of hydrogen. And to help us achieve our objectives, we have developed a system of hydrogen hubs across Canada. And we're also home to more than 170 hydrogen and fuel cell technology companies that have a wide range of expertise. And as 2024, there are over 80 hydrogen projects that are at various stages of developments across Canada. And they represent approximately $100 billion in potential investment. And these pilot projects our initiative to demonstrate how hydrogen can be used to fuel transportation, to decarbonize industries, to heat homes and businesses. And Canadian expertise also equally extend to services. So for example, in terms of project development and management, engineering, consulting. And this is just a glimpse of what Canada has to offer in terms of hydrogen technology. And today we have the privilege of hearing from two panelists that are at the forefront of hydrogen developments in Canada. And so we really hope that this session will pave the way for future collaboration. And us at the embassy, we stand ready to assist as we build a closer relationship between our countries. And so just in conclusion, just want to thank you again for participating in this event. And just let's embark together on that journey towards a greener and a more sustainable future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. We very much look forward to it. So allow me to take a few minutes to introduce the initiative through which the AUA Acopian Center for the Environment and the Entrepreneurship and Product Innovation Center at AUA have come to focus on sustainable energy issues. I'm going to share my screen for a split second. Entire screen share. And if you look at the Acopian Center for the Environment, and I invite you to check out our website and also epic.aua.am. These two sites are where you can find more information about many of our activities, but including this initiative through which we are here today. And the Acopian Center for the Environment, I'm the director of that center, and the director of the Entrepreneurship Product Innovation Center is Dr. Michael Kuchakjian. And we got together about a couple of years ago, and we started thinking about what we as academics and academic institution, representing academic institution, can do to highlight the significance of the energy transition issues that are happening globally, and how Armenia can benefit from these big global trends, and what are the opportunities we should not be missing. And so we thought about how we should position ourselves as a university to really push the agenda of energy transition. And the conversations have led to a number of very interesting activities, including a series on biogas, which led to a pre-feasibility study we're conducting right now with our partners from Denmark, with funding from the Swedish government, on the potential of biogas in Armenia, at a very large scale. It's a systemic kind of analysis of the potential of biogas. It also led to a very interesting project we've launched about 9 months ago, called, the acronym is STREAKS. It's Strengthening Energy Transition Research Capacity in Armenia. And this is funded by the European Commission's Horizon Europe program. And we have partners from Ireland and Italy. The intention of this program, the goal of this program, is to really build research capacity in Armenia, disciplinary and transdisciplinary research capacity in Armenia on energy transition issues, but also introduce transdisciplinary, which would involve government and business also in the process of academic research. A country without a research capacity, adequate research capacity, is going to be is going to find it very hard to define the challenges and meet the challenges of energy transition, being a complex process. So we started this initiatives, and these have been some of the very tangible results that we've had out of this dialogue process and brainstorming process that the two centers collaborated on. And this next phase now is exploring our partnership with our Canadian colleagues. And we hope that this will not be, we're planning this to be a series of talks, Canada AUA co-organized talks. And at the end, at least, not at the end, but later on, you will receive a survey online, very quick survey instrument for you to maybe express your ideas and thoughts about what other topics you would be interested to hear about. With that, let me now turn to, where is he? Mario Krpan, who is from the government of Alberta. Give me 1 second. Let me just open up the bio so I can do justice. Yeah, so Mario is an energy enthusiast with over 25 years of international experience as a business developer, lawyer, and trade and investment promoter in the energy industry. During his career, he has been involved in international energy infrastructure projects and initiatives in Europe, Africa, and North America. For the last 20 years, he has resided in Canada, working for the Alberta Government on energy-related projects in cleantech, power generation, and the oil and gas sector. In his current role in the government, he is the director of the Trade and Export Development. He's working with his team on promoting Alberta business in Europe and Central Asia. He's also a member of several boards, including the Center for Liquids Monetization and Canadian Global Energy Forum. Mario, please.
Thank you very much for a nice introduction. Just before I start sharing in my presentation, I'm very privileged and content to be here with all of you. Thank you for Acopian Center for the Environment and Canadian Embassy for inviting us here. We will be happy to provide some insights on all of the Alberta development and Alberta overview of hydrogen topics, like in the context of the energy production in our province. So let me first, share my screen and just to have a short presentation that I developed for this occasion. First, just to provide the context. Where is Alberta? Alberta is one of the 10 provinces, in Canada. We have a 4.2 million people. We are larger size than France. There's a big, industrial base in Alberta, focusing on oil and gas manufacturing, health science, innovation. When it's come to energy production, we are one of the largest energy hubs in North America, producing 4.2 million barrels of oil per day. As you see, those are mostly hydrocarbons and natural gas, crude oil, coal. However, we phase out the power, on coal base and replaced by natural gas, but also with the turbines that can receive hydrogen, which is very interesting. Also, we are very much in development of renewables, especially wind and solar. And right now, our grid has 20% of the electricity coming from the wind. When it's come to Alberta energy spectrum, as I said, we are the fourth largest, just Alberta, the fourth largest reserves in the world when it's come to oil. 6th largest producers of oil globally, and 82% of total Canadian production in 2021 is coming from Alberta. When we talk about the hydrogen, we are one of the global leaders in hydrogen production. We are using natural gas as an aim to hydrogen. However, those natural gas resources are team up, and marry with the CCUS. We are using, CCS to lower emission and producing, hydrogen using natural gas and sequestrating, carbon into the ground. just to let you know that over 7 million tons of emission has been captured and permanently stored underground. Right now, we have running for the last 10 years a CCS project ShellQuest that's sequestrating 1 million tons of CO2 per year, and also we have designated infrastructure, including pipelines that just moving that carbon. We are seriously committed to build hydrogen as one of the aims of energy. We're going to stay producing oil and gas and be a reliable supplier to the world need, but also with commitments to lower emission produced per unit of energy. Alberta Government developed a hydrogen roadmap 2 years ago, and we have that clear ambition, hydrogen ambition, to have a clean hydrogen integrated in our domestic energy system in mobility, heat, power generation, renewable energy storage, and also industrial applications. Alberta has established itself as a global supplier of choice in clean hydrogen export by 2030. When it's come to export, we are aiming, mostly to export those molecules, to Asia Pacific and United States, but also we are committed as well, together with other provinces and federal government, to develop those infrastructure to east of Canada, and to export those, hydrogen, to European Union and other markets on the east coast side from east coast of Canada. So our policy pillars are just to build new market demand. Market demand means internal market demand, but also to build a new market demand, by assuring that we have infrastructure in place. Of course, the key component here to enable carbon capture and storage, because we are tend to produce, hydrogen from natural gas. And here I just want to say, yes, here we are talking more about the green hydrogen. However, just look at this for perspective about the general policy development around the hydrogen and our expertise when it's come to hydrogen transportation, hydrogen storage, hydrogen application. So pretty much on let's not focus on the color right now. Let's focus on operational excellence that we have, our plans and commitment, and what we already doing in that space. So of course, a de-risking investment, activate technology innovation. We are just really putting lots of effort in innovation and ensuring regulatory and try to pursue this hydrogen export. When it's come to export, definitely there's a need, for allocated and specific hydrogen developed infrastructure, and that's something that will come, in here. The outcomes we are looking, to decarbonize, sector, as I said, to increase employment, extend value chain of natural gas, and leverage federal and other support for hydrogen in Alberta. As I said, applications are in heating, in power generation storage, in export, in mobility, and industrial processes. Just in a little bit, on the hydrogen production and the context of hydrogen production. We are one of the world's largest hydrogen productions, and Canada the largest producer of hydrogen. So, for example, Canada, to explain the context, Canada is producing 3 million tons of hydrogen per year, and after that, itself, Alberta is producing 2.4 million. So more than 75%. And we're producing that over 50 years. So we have that, expertise. Of course, we are doing that in a context of petrochemical development. However, as I said, on operational level, on infrastructure level, on a policy level, we can offer something and share our expertise with other countries and entities there have a similar ambition. And we are using, as I said, producing that on the context of upgrading, refining, and petrochemical processes. However, we are moving, into, and so here's Alberta hydrogen production. As you see, we are using CCS as a blue hydrogen, and we are just decreasing gray hydrogen in our production. So that's our aim, for the future. So we are focusing on building hydrogen storage. We are blessed, with geology, and so the caverns we are using, to store the hydrogen are developed or will be developed, soon. We have 11 hydrogen distribution services, liquefaction ones. But also we are developing fuel cells. There's many companies here on innovation side and development side using, developing and producing fuel cells and design, production, and application in transportation, residential, commercial, or industrial setting. Also producing equipment to store electrical output from renewable energy, and store electrical output in the form of hydrogen, either through CCUS or hydrogen. We have expertise also, our companies, and we're going to showcase that later in Stantec example of engineering and to consulting services, not only implement CCS, but also hydrogen solutions. We have expertise, expert in EPC companies. They're already doing that in that space, producing equipment, parts, valves, fittings, seals, meters, pipeline, sensors, because as you know, like hydrogen molecules are smaller, and there's a need to be adjustments, for those, that you're using for natural gas. And our companies are able to retrofit existing natural gas pipelines and compressors into use to do only hydrogen, or to do blending between natural gas and hydrogen. And right now we have a big project from one utility company to mix in hydrogen and natural gas. So utilities will use hydrogen for heat and power. We have solution on ICT, for hydrogen CCS, offering education and training relevant to that, and research, which is very important. Our universities and polytechnics are very much vested into research and innovation side of the hydrogen applications. There's a numerous projects in Alberta on the hydrogen. Some of them, probably know Air Products. It's a very large hydrogen solution provider. They are investing $3 billion in Alberta. Also, Suncor and ATCO, one is energy company, the other one utilities. They just jointly joining the forces there. I just want to mention here that hydrogen production in the future and the present right now cannot be without doing that in the context of hubs. Hubs, because the lowering cost to sharing infrastructure and knowledge, and the future of hydrogen production and hydrogen transportation, storage, application will be in hubs. We have such a one hub, in Edmonton. It's called Edmonton Hydrogen Hub, and exactly combines different players into that sector. Coming back to the projects, we also have like investments from other like jurisdictions. For example, Japan and Itochu Corporation invested with Petronas, which is Indonesian company, and they just now looking into like invest in natural gas based ammonia facility and export that to Asia market, as well as down chemical. Going back to this innovation side, we are not only investing but also into production, but also in innovation, and we have programs in place that like using some of the funds that we are just like recovering for big industrial emitters, and we are just investing back to our system. So there's numerous companies that are just really investing in the new solutions, and we are proud of the fact that we have many of those focusing on electrical haul trucks on the rail, on the car, and there's many pilot projects, in Alberta for that reason. I will just stop here and just finish this introduction of Alberta. Just summarize. We are big hydrogen producers. We are big energy producer. We see hydrogen as a one aim of decarbonizing current oil and gas solutions that we have. We will still working and developing oil and gas in Alberta, and be a steward and self-supplier, but as well investing in the future, investing in hydrogen production. And for that reason, Alberta is positioned to offer that solutions on a supply side, application side, education side, and in innovation side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mario. We will have a Q&A session after our next presenter. So without any further ado, Nathan Ashcroft is with Stantec, a very large Canadian company. And Nathan, please, you'll tell us more about that, about your company. Is the Director of Low Carbon Solutions at Stantec. He has 25 years of experience in a wide range of leadership roles. His career has spanned the development of a range of energy, chemical, and infrastructure studies and projects across different parts of the globe. In recent years, Nathan has strategically formed initiatives and become a leader within the energy transition clean technology sector as it applied to changing energy regimes worldwide. He has expertise in forming specialist teams to tackle major multifaceted challenges to deliver clean and comprehensive results. Nathan leads the Stantec Global Low Greenhouse Gas Solutions Group, involving work related to hydrogen, carbon capture, and other greenhouse gas solutions. Nathan was recognized and selected to be a distinguished lecturer for energy transition for the Canadian Institute of Mining and Petroleum in 2020 and 2021. Nathan, we're very happy to have you here. Please, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. I will share my screen. Please let me know when we have.
It's there. You just need to now put it in slide mode. The other slide mode. Yes.
Are we all good now, Alan?
You can just hide the stop sharing one.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you very much, the Acopian Center, and thank you very much, Government of Canada. It's a real pleasure to present to you our story today, some of our findings and insights to how we see the evolving hydrogen world globally.
Nathan, you
yes.
Have, so you just need to hide it, not stop sharing.
Oh.
So share again.
It's not sharing. It's not sharing now.
No, the hide, instead of hide, you pushed stop sharing.
Oh,
that's okay. Just share it.
I will. Give me 1 second. Are we good now?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, thank you. We'll catch up on time here. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to sharing some insights with you. And before that, I'm going to share a little bit about the Stantec globally. Stantec, we are a global company. We are based, our headquarters in Edmonton, Alberta. We were founded in 1954. Our market cap is exceeding the number on the screen and growing very significantly. We have over 32,000 employees globally, and the little orange dots on the screen represent the different offices. And we don't have an office in Armenia at this time, but who knows how that could change as we perhaps work closer together in the future here. We're traded on the New York Stock Exchange as well as the Toronto Stock Exchange, and we are around the world. There's 5 main elements to Stantec. The circle on the left-hand side, energy and resources, that's where I reside. In the work that I do, our work ranges from renewable energy, power delivery, mining, oil and gas, all the way through to fuel conversion and battery storage. The other 4 main areas of Stantec's work: buildings, environmental services, infrastructure, and water. So as we discussed the world's ever-evolving landscape and challenges, we feel that our organization is very well placed and capable, and is taking on the world's challenges and making our world a better place. I want to share, go specific to Stantec's hydrogen story with everybody here today, and people familiar with the hydrogen story. Just as a point of kind of interest, 1766, experimental chemist Henry Cavendish discovered a substance he called inflammable air, which later came known to be hydrogen. And there's been an evolution of hydrogen where we discovered it, tried to use it more, and it's had its challenges. But this is truly hydrogen's time as of now. And Stantec's hydrogen story, approximately 5 years ago, looking into the future and the strategic business realm, we felt there's a number of different factors, from Paris Accord, climate targets, GHG reductions, hydrogen's development space, the cost of hydrogen coming down a bit. We doubled down within Stantec, and as part of our low carbon solutions group, we formed a global hydrogen group, which 5 years on is going very strong. And I'm looking forward to sharing some of our insights with you as we've seen them across the globe. Hydrogen growth to 2050. This is a graph that if you went to 5 different sources, you'd see 5 different flavors of where hydrogen is going to go. But there's no doubt about it. Within those different sources, we're going to see significant growth in hydrogen adoption in various different industries around the world. And the interesting mix on this graph here, which is provided from the Hydrogen Council as a source of reference 2022, is low carbon hydrogen. The blue on this graph is from natural gas with a CCS, and green there is a form of green hydrogen, electrolytic or other. But no matter which graph you look at, we're seeing multiple times of growth. Hydrogen is going to become a much bigger part of our lives. Just briefly around hydrogen production, there's a number of different emerging pathways, but just for kind of clarity here, and perhaps as I loop in on the next few slides, we sometimes determined renewable hydrogen or electrolysis, green hydrogen, pyrolysis that I want to talk about here briefly, where we do something unique with a natural gas or a biogas configuration to get to hydrogen, and steam reforming, which is long established and most of the world's global hydrogen production here today. So just wanted to cover that. Hydrogen value chain and Stantec involvement, or maybe dwell on the value chain here a little bit more as we look to develop hydrogen solutions, from a renewable energy generation, the power transmission from that, the actual site where we produce hydrogen production, number 3 there, whether or not we stay with hydrogen or we go to hydrogen derivatives such as ammonia or fertilizer, and then we move hydrogen, conveyance, and then we have an end use. 6, hydrogen for power plants, light heavy duty mobility, which I will discuss in a bit more detail. hydrogen for built environment, which we've seen less, and hydrogen for ports, goods, and movement. So we can see hydrogen has a wide range of different uses. And as we've worked over the last 5 years, it certainly leans itself into different opportunities today with the cost of hydrogen than other areas of society. And we'll explore that here briefly. Oh, the last thing I would mention on this slide here, those 5 different parts of Stantec, and perhaps for a wider discussion, whether it be energy and resources, water, environmental, buildings, infrastructure, hydrogen solutions involves all of those to different areas. This is, it's a very unique part of our changing society where we need all sorts of different skills that come together to deliver hydrogen solutions. Very briefly on the work that we do is in the very early stages, all the way through to completion, left to right on this slide. Discussions such as this, where we're talking about opportunities and wide-ranging discussions, our work really has involved conceptual conversations about what we could do with hydrogen, assessing asset infrastructure in different countries, in different regions, looking at how we can convert, and basically, we call it advisory and consulting services, where we look at how hydrogen can become a part of different economies, different regions, different industries. And then, of course, we can, as an engineering company, we can take that forward and deliver those projects. But I wanted to make clear that our work certainly involves the front end. Just some very brief select hydrogen projects that we've been involved with, North American and global. Assessing, retrofitting natural gas pipelines with hydrogen, how we blend that in, doing a lot of work in that sense. Converting natural gas power production over to hydrogen large-scale power conversion, very interesting work there. And selectively, deblending, once we've put hydrogen in a pipeline with natural gas, how we remove hydrogen at its destination. Hydrogen fuel cells, lots of work in that realm. And perhaps on the Dubai line entry there, we have some members of our team traveling next week over to Dubai for some work associated with the wastewater treatment plant. So our work is truly global. Pyrolysis, which I'll get into on the next slide, is an area that we've taken a very keen interest in. I'll explain why. And as it relates to green hydrogen, very large-scale energy and infrastructure projects related to wind, grid, tie-ins for large-scale green hydrogen production in the hundreds of megawatts range. Looking at regulatory systems, how we put those in place. Of course, without a regulatory system to control and manage project development is very difficult, so we've done that work. And in this list in here, something that's really come as the emergent aspect of hydrogen development that's being built is a lot of our work around fueling for medium duty and heavy duty vehicles. And a lot of that work in California. California has really taken a leading role in this realm. So this is a very small snapshot of the projects that we're involved with on a global basis. And there's something new coming in from different parts of the world every week. And our portfolio is growing, and along with our experience and insights also. Some areas of hot topics I think I wanted to share with everybody on the call here today is in our journey, we've seen on the production side, electrolyzer fuel cell area. This is a real hot area for innovation. 5 years ago, there was probably a handful of hydrogen electrolyzer and fuel cell companies globally who'd been around a long time. They've now been very much challenged to increase the size of their electrolyzers, their fuel cells, reduce the cost of them from a capital perspective, and also bring the operating costs down by making these this equipment more efficient. So we've seen a tremendous area of innovation applied to electrolyzer and fuel cell. And I think you can, at this point, when we look into hydrogen solutions, electrolyzer, fuel cell, there's a wide range of different options, and this industry is growing. I wanted to talk briefly around pyrolysis. When we produce hydrogen through an electrolyzer, we need power, we need water. We typically have power in most locations, but we don't always have an abundance of water. So pyrolysis, the process where we take natural gas, methane, whether it's drilled natural gas or a biogas, and put that through a pyrolysis process, where then we have a hydrogen stream, and then we also have a carbon product from the pyrolysis process. So where you see remote areas or regions that are stressed with water, we've seen very significant development in the pyrolysis space as well. And furthermore, when the carbon is produced from a pyrolysis system, it's not CO2, it's a solid carbon, as many people on the call would know. And our work has been evaluating what we can do from a value-added product with that carbon material. Can we take that through to additives, to asphalt, battery materials, synthetic graphite, various different pathways that we've evaluated. And we feel like the pyrolysis space is very, very interesting. I've mentioned going underground here, and what I mean by that is people perhaps would have noticed that the cost of hydrogen, if I go back a second, is still very high, 2-3 times more than natural gas. So adoption is challenging, and I'll get to that a little bit later on. But the world, over the last 100 years, we've developed a lot of expertise in drilling for oil and gas. And little did we know, there was lots of hydrogen in natural occurring places underground. And we weren't looking for it necessarily. So we're starting to see hydrogen pockets around the world emerging, and that could be something to keep an eye on. And secondly, storage of hydrogen can be a challenge as well. So emerging geologies with salt caverns, and I don't know if there are any salt caverns in Armenia, but hydrogen is particularly favorable to store in the salt cavern. So I think innovation hot topics is some underground developments there. Blending, if I could briefly touch on that. We've done extensive work on hydrogen blending and hydrogen replacement of natural gas in pipeline infrastructure. Hydrogen, as we know, is a very, very small, unique molecule, very light, of course, very combustible. So this is a metallurgist's dream, being able to evaluate existing infrastructure and understand risk of how we can blend hydrogen in small to growing quantities within infrastructure. So we see a lot of work in that area. Fueling, innovation, hot topics. Hydrogen lends itself very well to medium and heavy duty. I would say personal vehicles, electrical vehicles, very strongly favored. We can plug them in at home. But being able to fuel up very quickly for medium duty, heavy duty, locomotives, and so forth, hydrogen lends itself with a very high energy density in a liquid form and the ability to fuel up very quickly and drop in to existing fueling infrastructure. And this is the area where we've actually seen many projects being built that we're involved with. And just to maybe elaborate on this a little bit more, hydrogen fueling stations. This is one graph that kind of indicates some of this, and this is an evolving landscape, but you can see where we are today, 2025. Over the next 10 years, we're expected to see 4 times growth. I've seen other graphs that see more growth than that. We're starting to see, and of course, hydrogen fueling is done through typically on-site hydrogen production, but also the common denominator is a hydrogen fuel cell that is required to convert hydrogen to power. So I wanted to share this with the audience here today as a real hot topic and something of interest for hydrogen fueling. On my last slide here, just something to share with the group that we've seen. Hydrogen hype and reality. In our journey in the last 5 years, we've worked with just about every type of company and government and location that you could imagine. And we've seen that everybody does want to move towards hydrogen, but we've also seen there's tremendous cost challenges with moving to hydrogen. As I mentioned, why would you move to an energy source that's potentially 2-3 times more than your current energy source? There are a number of drivers there. So in this graph here, and people perhaps have seen this before, we've seen the innovation trigger, the drivers of lowering GHG. And then we've also seen a hype curve. And I would argue, and many of my colleagues and industry peers would say, we now understand where we need to go. We've perhaps more realistic with our hydrogen ambitions. We're also starting to see very significant innovation with costs coming down in different areas. And we're now starting to see, I'll call it, here it's termed the slope of enlightenment, or the actual reality of hydrogen. And as such, we still see that going up. So it's an interesting time to be involved in hydrogen. We've learned lots. Innovators, entrepreneurs, smart people, students are really, I'll call it, contributing here to bring hydrogen to reality and clean up our energy transition and future for all of us. So hopefully some of this stuff was very interesting, and I'm very happy to take some questions after this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nathan. That was very interesting. We are going to open the session up for questions, but I ask you to, if you could, to type your questions. It could be typed in Armenian or in English, because if we open it up for people to speak, it will become a little bit too unmanageable. Can I start off the questions, and one directed at Mario, the other one at Nathan? Mario, you mentioned this idea of hubs being, energy hubs being critical to various benefits of it, being de-risking and so on. So can you explain that a little bit more? What do you mean by, what is that concept of hub?
Concept of hub, it's a concept of the having, in a close proximity producers of hydrogen, midstream, like midstreamers of the hydrogen. So companies that are doing operations on the pipelines and storage. Companies that are just on the application side, and also other institutions in a closer proximity to those, like industrial one, which is innovator, academia, policy development, and other stakeholders that are important in that. Why? Because being close, it's about communicating better, and being close, it's about like lowering the cost. And that concept, I see, developing around the world. We just had the trade mission, because I'm focusing on trade in a government. We went, to UK. UK, it has a couple of those hubs, actually more than a couple, designated by the government. And it's exactly, that concept that we have in Edmonton. Edmonton is the capital of Alberta. In Edmonton, north of Edmonton, we have this industrial complex that have refineries, they have midstreamers, that have, like these salt caverns that, like Nathan mentioned, that it's very, very, good, for like store the hydrogen. But also we have a great universities and innovators that can test all of those concepts. Pilot projecting is the key for a new concept in a hydrogen production. So all of that is really creating a great nucleus, of the current hydrogen production, but the future of hydrogen applications and the work on that topic.
Thank you very much. Yes. So in other contexts, the term cluster is used. I guess that's the same. So the hub would be this kind of all the social knowledge, regulatory infrastructure being more or less very in close proximity, so it reduces transaction time and cost. And
exactly.
So.
Exactly. And then don't forget, I didn't mention as much as I should in regulatory. because with our policy and strategy. So there's a like on the national level, on Canadian level, there is a strategy on a hydrogen, but also every province in Canada has their own strategy, because in provincial, I mean, when it's come to Canada, provinces are actually managing their natural resources. So for that reason, we have developed those policy framework, but also regulatory framework is very, very important and critical from different aspects, from the emission, from the environment, from the operation, safety, security, and such and so. So don't forget regulatory as well, and we have that in place, and to perfect those that we have already on natural gas to adjust to hydrogen in our context.
Thanks, Mario. We will come back with you on the question of strategy and regulation and policy. But Nathan, I recall when we were last spoke, you were mentioning that you worked in some countries developing hydrogen strategy or helping with development of hydrogen strategy. Armenia currently does not have a hydrogen strategy, and I haven't heard of a plan to have one. What is the significance of having a hydrogen strategy for companies to invest from an investment perspective? And also, what should a country keep in mind when they take on this exercise of developing a strategy?
Oh, that is an excellent question. Thank you very much. In our journey, this hydrogen can be produced a number of different ways and can be used in a wide range of different applications. But the power and the significance of a hydrogen strategy, and I would say as part of that, Alan, is a roadmap, is where it makes the most sense to start. Where is realistic and how can that be developed? So a key parts of the strategy is assessing existing infrastructure that is currently within countries, understanding different weather patterns, renewable energy grids, and we discussed briefly solar, emerging solar and strong solar within Armenia. So understanding these different factors, and different countries will have different advantages for different pathways of hydrogen, and then being able to lay out pathways where realistic projects can be developed, whether through clusters, government support, and then being able to convey this strategy and to whether it be investors in country or outside the country, to bring people forward. And from the work that we've done on hydrogen strategies, I would say this is potentially something that we could work on together, is that your understanding of the landscape in Armenia, our global experience of perhaps being able to do something at a high level to develop that. But I've always, in our journey, been on understanding those key aspects and then putting realistic things that don't have to be too big to begin with. It can be small, some hydrogen fueling, some small scale fuel cell hydrogen developments, and building from there. For us, it's always been about getting started and building momentum from there. And of course, attracting other funding, grants, and wherever we can get our hands on. But different strategies for different countries, but something realistic to get going. So we've without a strategy, it's very hard to get going. So that's something we'd be very happy to discuss further and bring some of our learnings from elsewhere to the equation.
And if people are writing their questions, could I please ask you to type in your, so we can take them in order? There's a question, true. And guys, I'll put it out there, but it's just, this can be very technological, it can be very policy oriented, program oriented. So whatever you guys feel comfortable to go into. Antoine Terjanian, who's a fellow Canadian with you guys, spending a lot of time in Armenia. He asks to Nathan, your project with Enbridge, blending and deblending hydrogen, please explain.
Yeah, that was a very interesting project, and it's one of the projects I'm able to share the knowledge with because it was funded by government. So we have a pipeline, if you can imagine, in Western Canada that comes all the way down through to Illinois in the US, something like 2,500 kilometers. So a very significant distance. And the evaluation was to add up to 20% blended, a very large scale pipeline, 30-inch pipeline across that distance. The evaluation was to determine the economic feasibility of adding the hydrogen in Alberta where it's plentiful and available, shipping that with the natural gas all the way down to Illinois, and using extractive technology to extract the hydrogen in Illinois and determine if that was economically feasible. So what we actually did was we determined that it was actually more economically feasible than we first thought. And the report is with Enbridge and the government to evaluate it for the next steps.
Okay, thank you. Gorya Digarian is directing question to both of you. Can you give at least one example for a prerequisite which helped you to establish cooperation with a country in Europe and which can be applicable to Armenian side, taking that? So, you know, what does it take for you to cooperate with, internationally for with a country outside of Canada and outside of North America, let's say?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Sorry.
Go first,
Yeah.
and then I'll go.
Yeah. Okay, I will just briefly mention. So pretty much, like with us in the trade side and promoting our Alberta businesses, products and services, it's not about selling the products. It's about the building of partnerships and just working together on the creating projects, programs, like platforms for engagement, between two jurisdictions. We started to do that, in the context of the UK development. Now we're going to Hanover with our minister to talk, with the German side, of course, together as a team Alberta, team Canada, and we are very proactive on the Asia Pacific side with South Korea and Japan. So all of this, have a different layers on academia, layers on innovation, layers on the already ready solutions, and that is part of that standing offering. And we do that to the different programs with EU. Canada is a part of Horizon, so we just cooperating through that. There's a really vibrant, community of practice, with Polytechnic on the training side. So there's as I said, different kinds of layers of the relationships, and it's about building partnership, not selling the solutions. Thank you.
Nathan?
Yes, I very much agree with that last sentence, building partnerships, not selling solutions. I'll perhaps give two examples. One prominent example where I think it worked very, very well is we did a hydrogen strategy for Nepal some years ago. It was a very high-level study, and it involved the government of Nepal and World Bank. And interestingly, in Nepal, and coming back to my previous points, we look at the existing assets within the country. We look at some pinch points. We looked at the power grid, renewable energy, of which they had hydropower in abundance and coming online, pipeline grids, natural gas availability, water availability, looked at infrastructure and roads and various different aspects in that country. And a collaboration of ourselves, World Bank, Government of Nepal, and some other entities in country. We made some recommendations on how we would start. I'm pleased to say one of the recommendations was to take hydrogen to a derivative for ammonia and fertilizer, because they were importing fertilizer at great cost to the country. And that project is now moving forward in the feasibility range. So Nepal was a really good example. And working with Mario, we're in the discussions, putting a plan together in Romania. There's been certain areas and jurisdictions around the world, but Nepal was probably a very good example where for a relatively small cost, we were able to work with people and assess what made sense. What did that roadmap look like? Where is a good place to start and why?
Thank you. Karen Demircan, who is also an energy engineer, from the US is asking, Nathan mentioned pyrolysis process for hydrogen production from natural gas. Is pyrolysis with petroleum-based solid waste feedstock producing syngas also a viable technology to pursue for hydrogen production?
Yes, it is. You know, if you've got a syngas methane associated molecule, that is a pathway that can be explored. Yes.
Thank you. Arta Kambarian, one of our professors, and focuses on energy issues. Do you guys have nuclear power married with electrolyzer facilities in Canada, or do you know of it anywhere else in the world?
No, not yet. There's been some discussion around utilizing baseload nuclear power, of which we have an abundance in different parts of Canada, to take excess power and produce hydrogen. There's some initiatives around it, but it hasn't been deployed yet.
And he's clarifying, yes, we do have salt caverns in Armenia.
I saw that. That's very interesting, and as part of a strategy that could figure significantly. That's an advantage.
Aslinet Pasoyan, also another energy expert and economist who works on many different issues of energy policy in the country, says, within Armenia, there is a split vision on policy pathway for hydrogen. One, market-based through tariff policy or direct policy incentives and public sector engagement. So one is market-based, the other one is direct policy engagement. Given the monopoly of natural gas infrastructure, Armenia, as Gazprom, the Russian gas company, has a monopoly of gas distribution in the country. Given the monopoly of the infrastructure, do you have any comparative analysis of state-driven versus market-based strategies, ideally also with focus on infrastructure? Either of you can take that question.
That's a tough question. That's a unique situation that you have. Mario, would you want to maybe start that? I'll give it some thought.
Just repeat once again the question, please.
Yes, is market-based versus government direct involvement, especially under the conditions of infrastructure being a monopoly of one non-Armenian company.
Yeah, we are talking now about the different concept of the oil and gas development and energy development in the world. So outside of North America, mostly, I mean, excluding international oil and gas companies, we are talking about, you know, like NOCs. NOCs are just a kind of like a lead, you know, in energy development in many of countries in the world. In North America, it's different. We don't have state-owned companies. We have, you know, like very deregulated, market deregulated, you know, like kind of a space where everyone, you know, can come here, invest, and of course, you know, complying with the regulatory policy rules. So we don't have, you know, that problem that at one entity or one an asset could be primarily in the hands of one company, and so that pretty much jeopardized development in general. So we are only here as a steward that, you know, controlling, allowing, checking, and supporting that you know, like development on macroeconomic premises. It's totally different philosophy in a way. So it's very hard, you know, to compare both of that, you know, considering all these elements. But, you know, diversifying things, having open market, having ability to other to comes, you know, it's a key, because, you know, with the competition, the opportunities will arise, and merit, you know, will prevail.
So let me just ask this question in a slightly different way. Is moving around hydrogen through pipelines the only way you can rely on hydrogen? So because that's, I think, everyone always gets fixated on the gas infrastructure in the country, but hydrogen, there may be other ways of distributing or using it, right?
Right. I mean, I think the key for the aspect of the hydrogen would be, you know, like going and building, like specific, pipelines to carry that hydrogen. Right now, hydrogen only can be just, like move, now through ammonia. And it's very delicate, like even to transport hydrogen, via rail. We have a really big pushback, like considering even to move that via rail. So the future will be in cryogenic, what Kawasaki is developing on the marine side, cryogenic, transportation of hydrogen, and allocated pipeline, like just to carry hydrogen. I need to be frank, there's a like a attempt, to mix and blend the hydrogen. That's fine, but on the distribution side, but just think, when you blend the hydrogen, you lowering the energy density. And the question now is to know whether this is going to be cost effective for operators, to do so. We have to move to solutions that really are only hydrogen tailored. That's my opinion. And yeah, and my apologies. I have to jump, because this was attempt to be 1 hour. I have another arrangement. It was great to see you all. Send me your questions, my way. I'm very pleased, to be part of that. Thank you for the organizer, and thank you for the embassy. Nathan will be here to answer your question. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
We'll be in touch, and the recording will be available later on for everyone who wants on our YouTube channel, and we'll let you know. So I don't know, Nathan, do you want to jump in with last statement? We're out of time. We're actually 10 minutes over time. So if you want to say any concluding thoughts,
Very briefly, thank you very much to everybody. Secondly, hopefully this isn't the end of the conversation. You mentioned there was no hydrogen strategy for Armenia. That's something that we would love to work with you and collaborate on and do something forward-looking, that it's strategic, that is in the interests of Armenia, and we bring our learnings that we've seen. We don't know everything, but between your knowledge and our knowledge and others, I'm pretty sure that'd be something that we could aspire to, and that would be a very good thing for us to work on in the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Canadian Embassy, Jennifer and Maria, of course, you've been incredibly helpful and a great partner to have. And Nathan, thank you very much for taking the time to share your experience with us. Good luck, everyone. And we'll be sending a very brief questionnaire. Please fill it out on topics you would be interested to hear in subsequent seminars and workshops. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.